And now, ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show, direct from the bar,
PB.
What is going on out there, peeps? What does Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, and Trey Reed have in common? All three of them are going to be used to push an agenda, and it has to do with causing racial tensions in this country. I'll prove it to you. Well, what does Benjamin Crump have to do with this? Well, Benjamin represented Trayvon Martin during the George Zimmerman trial. He used a fake witness to try to convict George Zimmerman, an innocent man. Yeah, he tried to use a fake witness, and I'll show that to you here in a moment. He also represented the family of George Floyd. He's the one that helped pressure the doctors to change the death certificate. It originally said that George Floyd had died of a drug overdose. And that's a whole nother video I'll have for you guys later on. Then they said that he died from asphyxiation, and they used that to do the BLM rights everywhere. He's now with the Trey Reed family. So yeah, this is a huge red flag. The original autopsy for Trey Reed says that this guy was hung. There's no other evidence of foul play. Colin Kaepernick is funding a second autopsy. Oh, that's another red flag big time. It would not surprise me for him to be behind another fake death certificate or doing something to change the autopsy. Now, rumors are already starting that the second autopsy is already out, and it showed that he got hit in the back of the head, got a fracture, they strangled him, and then hung him in a tree to make it look like suicide. And who are they? Of course, you should not be surprised at this. These are 4 white people that are supporters of Charlie Kirk. Trump is on such a roll right now, and the popularity for Trump and the Republicans is so high. It's higher than it's ever been. And the Democrats are getting their ass kicked, and I mean kicked bad. They have the lowest approval rating than they've ever had in their life. Charlie Kirk ended up being a martyr and garnished huge support from around the world. And his death made people sick and tired of all the bullshit coming from the left. So of course, he's a good target for this. I can already see where this is going. A new autopsy that Kaepernick paid for is going to show that this man died of something else besides hanging himself. I guarantee it. And everybody's going to be up in arms. And you're going to start seeing riots and marches and shit just like we did before. And they're going to try to turn as many black people away from Trump as possible. Because black support for Trump has skyrocketed. It is through the roof. More and more people are leaving the Democrats than ever before. And we're talking about minorities. They see through all this bullshit. I hope they continue to see through this bullshit. But let's get into how we're going to prove all this. This is Black Conservative Perspective. I'm going to play his video so you can hear what's going on out there and why it is I'm suspicious of this whole Trey Reed thing.
So the results of the second autopsy on Trey Reed has came out, and it came out that all of you white people who were trying to sit here and make it seem like this young man was not strange fruited, it came back that he had blunt force trauma to the back of his head. Now, why the hell would he hit himself in the back of the head, then put himself in a goddamn tree? You know why? Because that doesn't make any sense. Y'all waited until he turned his back before you cracked him in the skull, the back of his skull, and then you put him in that tree to make it seem like he did it himself. I said this before, and I will say it again. Black men do not strange fruit themselves on trees.
Strange fruit means lynch yourself, okay? So anyways, they just changed the words because I guess social media platforms have a problem with it. But come on now, free speech. You can already see how this narrative is starting to take off. So let's continue.
Repeat after me. Black men do not strange fruit themselves on trees, especially in America. It don't happen.
Story about the black student that was found hanging at Delta State University. Now, some of you guys may be asking, why is it that you continue to talk about this story? Why is it that you continue to cover this story? It seems as if this was a suicide, right? And it was unfortunate that this student decided to take his own life. At this point, the story should be over, but it's not over. And one of the reasons why I want to follow it until the end is because stories like this are a great example of how black leftists, right, and leftists in general, but again, specifically the lies of a black leftist are like lies I've never seen before, right? Like, I'm just documenting all of the lies at this point that these people continue to tell because they just cannot cope with reality that this student more than likely committed suicide, okay? And we've already talked about some of the initial lies surrounding the story. Like from the beginning, these activists came out and claimed that Trey Reed was found with broken bones, limbs, like he was beat up or something like that. The black coroner, the black police chief, all the black people involved with investigating this basically said, nah, none of that happened, right? That none of that stuff was true. Okay, the state autopsy found that no foul play was involved, but the activists couldn't accept that because they've convinced themselves that, no, Trey Reed was lynched by a white mob, right? They've convinced themselves that this is what happened, and there's no amount of proof or the lack of proof or evidence that will convince them otherwise that their conclusion isn't correct, right? And again, this is why I'm documenting this, because I just want you guys to witness the lies and the mental gymnastics that a leftist will go through in order to push a narrative, especially when you talk about this race narrative, where apparently the supply of racism is so low and the demand is so high that they have to make up stories, right? They have to wish and hope and pray and to look for racism, right? Which is essentially what this story has become. The second big lie, Colin Kaepernick and Ben Crump getting involved to get a second autopsy, because again, they can't accept any conclusion outside of white lynch mob. You had activists like Willie D and others go on the internet and spread more lies, claiming that this autopsy concluded that Trey Reed was hit in the back of the head, right? He had blunt force trauma to the back of the head, that he was beat up, right? This is evidence and proof that he was lynched. Despite the fact that that autopsy has not been released, and the family has come out and said, yeah, those rumors aren't true, right? They aren't true.
You hear what he's saying? The second autopsy hasn't even been released, and already rumors are being spread that he got smacked in the back of his head by 4 white guys, even though the family's saying it's not true.
Now we have another lie, right, that is coming out, which is that days before Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree, apparently he had gotten an argument with some white Charlie Kirk supporters on behalf of some female. Some people say it was his sister. Some people say it was some other random woman or female. And that's why he was hung, because he was arguing with Charlie Kirk supporters. Yes, this is the new Blue Anon conspiracy theory from this story that, again, it just blows your mind, this type of stuff these people come up with.
And then Trey Reed, who the first autopsy said that he took his own life, that there was no foul play. And thank goodness we got a second independent autopsy, which is now showing blunt force trauma to the back of his head. And we're now finding out that he got into an argument just days before that with 4 white kids while he was defending his sister. It is not just enough for these two to get the justice they deserve, to find out who actually caused that car accident and who actually hung him. But the cops that involved in these cover-ups and the involved of blaming young black men for this need to be held accountable, need to be charged.
Trey Reed didn't hang himself. He was murdered. Shout out to Colin Kaepernick for providing the funding for that second independent autopsy for the family, because it's very revealing, and we're getting new details and information about the Delta State University student that was found hanging from a tree on September 15th. He didn't take his own life, and it wasn't a real hanging. So the autopsy that was funded by Colin Kaepernick reportedly finds that Trey Reed did not die by suicide. Family attorney Ben Crump has yet to confirm.
Real quick, let's look at this. Kaepernick-funded autopsy reportedly finds Trey Reed didn't die by suicide. Family attorney Ben Crump hasn't confirmed. Although unconfirmed by Red's family, you mean Reed's family? A new cause of death claims spread. You see this? Crump has not confirmed this. The family has not confirmed this, that the second autopsy said these things. But already it's spreading on social media as if it's real.
Not only did he not hang himself, new information and new details are showing that there may be blunt force trauma to his head, and that days before he was found, he was in an altercation with some Charlie Kirk supporters. Turns out that Trey was online defending a young lady who had said some things about Charlie Kirk that had upset some Delta State University students. And he had gotten into an altercation online with 4 white men. 2 of these men attend Delta State University. Text messages are showing. The second independent autopsy also showed and revealed that he was manually choked and strangled before any rope was placed around his neck, and that his bruising was not indicative of him being hung. That's not how he died. Details are still forthcoming. This is an ongoing investigation.
Now, this has been rumored. Again, this is rumored, alleged. We don't know for sure. But there's a massive rumor going around that Trey Reed was unalived by 4 white boys who were Charlie Kirk fans. And Trey Reed was allegedly defending a girl who had something to say about Charlie Kirk to them 4 white boys. Again, we don't know for that to be true. And that's the rumor that's been flying around all day. All day. I ain't see the mom confirmed it, the family confirmed it, or anything like that. But I tell you what, y'all better hope that's not true.
If you are an online content creator, right, you have a basic responsibility to at least attempt to get things correct, right? But it seems to be like, again, if you're a leftist, the standards just is so low, right? All you got to do is tell your audience what they want to hear. It doesn't matter the facts, doesn't matter the evidence, doesn't matter proof. None of that stuff matters. Just tell them what they want to hear. And that's it. You'll get a very large following. You don't actually need to tell the truth. You don't actually need to report based off facts, right? All you got to do is just say what they want to hear. What these people want to hear is that some white mob hung Trey Reed, and there's this giant cover-up, right? Black people in on it, right? Black people in on it, covered up for white supremacists, right? And, you know, Charlie Kirk is involved as well, too, right? Because, again, this whole Trey Reed story is only a story because of Charlie Kirk being assassinated, and then leftists immediately trying to find something else to distract from that, okay, to point to and say, listen, see, this is a problem in the country, right? This is a much bigger problem than far leftists assassinating conservative activists, right? Black men being hung from trees by a white lynch mob, right? Even though that doesn't really happen in this country anymore, right? It doesn't happen.
But nobody should be surprised if the second autopsy comes up with shit like that's being spreaded around social media. I mean, come on, they've done it 2 other times. They did it in a George Floyd death, changed the autopsy report. I mean, this Crump guy is already proven himself to be the type of lawyer to go along with some scandalous shit.
Still no news tonight on the results of a second autopsy on Trey Reed, the Delta State student found hanging from a tree recently. You'll recall the man's death triggered wild rumors that have been labeled untrue by the Bolivar County coroner and the state crime lab. Now, new rumors have surfaced about a second autopsy on Reed. Tonight, Delta News reporter Dennis Turner separates fact from fiction and has this update on the case.
Ever since the discovery of Trey Reed's body on the campus of Delta State University, those close to the investigation have complained the rumor mill has worked overtime. The facts of this case, though, have come much slower. Perhaps that's why rumors have recently surfaced about results of a second autopsy. A Delta News investigation shows, though, that autopsy has not been released. Shortly after Reed's death came stories that he suffered broken bones and other injuries at the time of his death. A Bolivar County coroner and the Mississippi Crime Lab quickly disputed that and released information that they found no injuries on Reed's body. But conflicting information told to the family did not fill them with confidence.
That is a false narrative.
At this gathering in Grenada, an attorney for the Reed family listed all the early missteps in notifying them of Trey's death. So it came as no surprise the family hired well-known attorney Ben Crump and asked for its own private autopsy on the young man's body. We soon learned former NFL star Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights Foundation would pick up the tab. A well-known pathologist was chosen for that second autopsy. Dr. Matthias Okoye is the director of the Nebraska Institute of Forensic Sciences. This biography from the University of Missouri lists Dr. Okoye's medical degrees from the University of Lagos, the United Kingdom, residencies at the University of Kansas, the state of Maryland, and a law degree from Detroit College of Law. The report says Okoye is often called on to investigate controversial and high-profile deaths. Last week, the Jackson Clarion Ledger reported Dr. Okoye completed his examination before Reed's funeral last month, but that the autopsy report had not been finalized.
Yeah. So, again, this is what I find to be sketchy, right? This is where I'm like, there's some red flags here. It's been, again, about a month since that second autopsy has been done, and they still have not released the results, right? It still has not been finalized yet.
It could be because they're needing to find a way to alter the autopsy to fit this agenda. They're having a hard time doing it.
Again, this autopsy was paid for by Colin Kaepernick. You have Ben Crump on it. 2 race hustling ambulance chasers, right? The only reason they even care about this at all, because again, Ben Crump doesn't care about a vast majority of black people that, you know, are killed in this country by other blacks, right? We know they've been killed by other blacks. He don't give a damn. He only cares when, again, it's police or a white person involved, right? Or they believe a white person was involved, right? He can make some money. He can grift. So you got 2 of the biggest grifters in the game on this, right? And they're funding this autopsy. The narrative that they desperately want, I think that the information would have been released. I think that it would have been verified. I think that Ben Crump would have came out here and at least told us the preliminary results, right? That, hey, you know, it's looking like there was foul play involved, you know, yada, yada. Like, I really do believe that they would have said something. That's if the results actually fit the narrative. However, if the results don't fit the narrative, the incentive to actually come out here and to tell the truth about what happened, well, there's a lot less of an incentive. Now, y'all hopped on this thinking that some white lynch mob killed this young black man, despite the fact that there was no evidence or proof of this happening at all.
Or they need to change the evidence to make it fit their narrative.
And the sad part about this is that they brought all this attention to this story that, again, that had no evidence and proof of any foul play from the beginning, right? Zero, none. But again, they wanted to play into this racial narrative.
This week, the Mississippi Free Press also reported that despite what other, less reputable websites have reported, there is still no official second autopsy report on Trey Reed.
I think something fishy going on here with this second autopsy, but we will see.
I will leave a link to his YouTube video down below in the description. So now let me get into the Trayvon Martin case, all right? Let me show you what these people did. How they used a fake witness to try to convict George Zimmerman.
Andrew Gillum seized the nomination for governor despite being third in the polls just a week ago.
And then lost by only a hair to Republican Ron DeSantis in the general election. What caught my attention were comments Andrew Gillum continued to make during the campaign about the shooting of Trayvon Martin.
We know, certainly in my state, in the case of Trayvon Martin, in the same state where Trayvon Martin was killed, for wearing a hoodie, quite frankly.
Then it became about the Stand Your Ground law.
We can look no further than the situation between Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. And because of Stand Your Ground laws, he was able to get away with it.
I had followed the Zimmerman case closely enough to know that virtually everything Gillum said was wrong. The case had nothing to do with Stand Your Ground and everything to do with traditional self-defense.
Mr. Zimmerman has made the statement of self-defense. Until we can establish probable cause to dispute that, we don't have the grounds to arrest him.
No, this case was the original case to cause racial tension in this country. The very first one, and Obama was involved with it.
What, I wondered, was the reason for Gillum to bring up Trayvon Martin so much? Doing some superficial internet research, I saw that Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon's mother, was a big supporter of Gillum. He's got my vote.
And the truth is, you know what, I'm black. I've been black all my life. So far as I know, I will die black.
How did Gillum's racially charged political narrative work so well?
I'm not calling Mr. DeSantis a racist. I'm simply saying the racists believe he's a racist.
I started to think maybe it was true that Gillum's improbable run was because of Trayvon Martin. George met me at a public park on the quiet Lake Monroe. He hadn't done any interviews since the trial in 2013. George seems smaller than you might expect, 5'7", and yes, he looks Hispanic.
Yeah, he does look Hispanic. Why was that brought up? Let me remind you.
So until yesterday, I'd never heard the term white Hispanic. But now for the first time, the New York Times is describing this George Zimmerman, 28, who shot the black teenager, is describing George Zimmerman as a white Hispanic.
Yeah, white Hispanic. You see, the news already jumped over this fact that they were calling George Zimmerman a white man who killed an unarmed black child. Once they found out that Zimmerman was Hispanic, they knew they were screwed. How are they going to push this as a racial issue if the guy is not white? So that's when they came up with the term white Hispanic. You see how they left the word white in there? This whole case was meant to stir up the emotions of black people and get them to rise up.
He is soft-spoken and unfailingly polite. Yes, sir, and no, sir.
George, good to meet you. Good to meet you, Joel. Thanks for coming here to talk to me.
It's my pleasure.
Can you tell me where you were politically in the years growing up?
Politically, I was a Democrat. I was an Obama supporter. I had been caught up in the promises of hope and change.
Our time for change has come.
I would say Barack Obama's candidacy did inspire me to become more active.
Can you tell me about your mentoring experience?
I was mentoring 2 African-American teenagers in a suburb of Orlando. Unfortunately, they had a father that was imprisoned for life, so they didn't really have a father in the home.
What kind of things were they getting into trouble-wise that you were able to help intervene with?
Unfortunately, as bad as pulling weapons on their parent or slashing tires, skipping school, really a variety of things that a lot of teenagers from that socioeconomic background struggle with. I take them to restaurants that they hadn't been to, kind of expand their cultural horizons. We spend a lot of time at churches, playing basketball, just spending time with them one-on-one, letting them know that they're important. And then whenever I could afford it, I'd splurge and take them somewhere nice. It was inspiring to see a positive change in kids that had a troubled background. I got a lot more from the kids than I think they got from me.
What was happening at the retreat at Twin Lakes in the months prior to your joining up with the Community Watch program?
We were being riddled by crime. Robberies. We actually had home invasions. Neighborhood Watch was not something that I had thought of becoming a part of or wanted to be a part of. My wife had urged me to do something. I had seen in the neighborhood that there were Neighborhood Watch signs up. I was willing to do anything to give her a sense of comfort. The police advised us when they came and they spoke to us as a Neighborhood Watch group that we should call a non-emergency number if we thought there was a crime being committed or we saw someone that we didn't recognize in the neighborhood, and that it was better to be safe than sorry. Several other neighbors had called and reported suspicious persons, property being stolen, and I myself had called a few times.
Can you describe when you left your house that night and why you stopped your car?
I was not on any type of Neighborhood Watch patrol. There was no such thing in the Neighborhood Watch program. I left my house that night simply to go to Target to do my grocery shopping, as I did every Sunday, to prepare my meals for the week. As I was driving out of my neighborhood, I noticed that there was a man who I perceived at that time, in other words, in between the buildings, the rows of the townhouses, in the rain, in the cold, in no particular rush to get out of the rain or the cold. So I decided to do what the Neighborhood Watch program had instructed us to do. We called the non-emergency number.
What caused you to leave your car?
The reason I left my vehicle was because the non-emergency dispatcher asks me several times which direction did he go in. I felt it was my obligation, if I was going to call and ask for their assistance, that I should be at least able to give them an accurate description of where he had gone. But in fact, I had not seen him from the time I left my vehicle until the altercation.
Are you following him? Yeah. Okay, we don't need you to do that. Okay.
And when the dispatcher asked you if you're following him, why did you answer yes?
I didn't mean that I was actually following him because I never really saw him. I just happened to be walking in the direction where I had last seen him. I never saw Trayvon at all during that time. And I saw headlights near my car. So I decided to walk back to my vehicle, thinking it was the police officer.
And then when I got to right about here, he yelled from behind me to the side of me. He said, "Yo, you got a problem?" And I turned around and I said, "No, I don't have a problem, man." And he said, "You got a problem now." And then he was here and he punched me in the face.
Being over 6 foot tall, he closed the gap between he and I very quickly and sucker punched me and broke my nose. When he broke my nose, I lost my footing. I was disoriented.
He pushed me down. Somehow he got on top of me.
My head was about halfway onto the concrete and my body was mostly on the grassy area.
And he just kept slamming it.
He kept pummeling me with punches, decided to beat my head into the concrete sidewalk.
I started screaming, "Help, help," as loud as I could.
Kept going through my mind is get your head off the pavement. You're gonna lose consciousness.
911, do you need police, fire, medical? Both, I'm not sure. There's just someone screaming outside.
Now, I remember during the trial, it was one of these pivotal moments. That recording right there, we can hear somebody yell in the background, "Help." I remember they brought up Trayvon's mom to identify the voice. And this is what she said.
911, do you need police, fire, medical? Maybe both. I'm not sure. There's just someone screaming outside. Hey, what's the address that they're near? 1211 Twin Trees Lane. Twin Trees Lane? Is this in the Twin Lake Town Farms in Sanford?
Yes.
Okay. And is it a male or female?
It sounds like a male.
And you don't know why?
I don't know why. I think they're yelling help, but I don't know. Just find someone to say stop.
Okay. Does he look hurt to you?
I can't see him. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's going on. So they're sending.
So you think he's yelling help?
Yes.
All right. What is your phone number?
There's gunshots.
You just heard gunshots?
Yes.
Ma'am, that screaming or yelling, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And who do you recognize that to be, ma'am?
Trayvon Benjamin Martin.
And I thought, you know what? That must suck as a parent to hear that and you know it's your kid's voice. But then, during the trial, something caught my attention. This police officer's testimony.
Anything else that you recall Mrs. Zimmerman saying to you at the scene before you started walking towards the car?
Not before, no, sir.
Okay. As you were walking towards the car, didn't he utter something to you, sort of voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And what did he say?
He stated to me that he was yelling for help and that nobody would come help him.
So as you can hear in the testimony, it just makes sense. Trayvon was on top, smashed his head in the concrete. He's screaming for help. But they had Trayvon's mother go on the stand and say she could recognize the voice and that was her son. He's screaming for help. It wasn't her son. It was George Zimmerman. But the news went crazy with it, saying, oh, a poor mother. And man, they just kept pushing that agenda.
Being on my back, all the blood from my broken nose was going down my throat and essentially choking me. He was also trying to smother me and stop my cries for help while he was in the midst of raining down blows on me.
Somebody here opened the door.
Trayvon Martin was on top, correct?
Correct.
And he was the one who was raining blows down on the person on the bottom, George Zimmerman, right?
That's what it looked like.
And he yelled at him, stop, stop, I'm calling the police. Even with Mr. Good yelling that he was calling the police, Trayvon didn't stop. He didn't let up at all. He continued his attack.
And then what did you do to get out of the situation?
I had shimmied my body down the grass to get my head off of the concrete sidewalk. It made my jacket ride up my body and exposed my firearm that had been concealed.
I felt his arm going down to my side, and I grabbed it.
I didn't really remember that I had the firearm on me, and I didn't think it would ever come into play.
And I just grabbed my firearm and I shot one time.
After I fired the shot, I believed I didn't even shoot him.
I didn't think I hit him because he sat up and he said, oh, you got me.
I thought he was simply stating that he wasn't going to fight anymore. He knew that I got to the gun before he did.
I know you have a gun now. I heard it. I'm giving up.
My first reaction was concern for my neighbors. Where did the bullet go? Because of the position we were in, my shot would have gone into one of their bedrooms.
These proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God. So, thank you.
I saw where Rachel Jantel testified. It's very close to the audience.
A letter she sent to Trayvon Martin's mother describing what she heard.
Did you sign it at the bottom?
Yes.
What name did you use?
Diamond Eugene.
I'm sorry.
Diamond Eugene. Diamond Eugene.
The effects of this trial are still being felt throughout the country. It really changed the United States.
Can you tell me anything that he might have told you during these final moments that no one knows about?
He went face down into the grass and I heard him say, "Tell Mama Alicia I'm sorry."
I had read Trayvon was raised by his stepmother, Alicia Stanley.
You were his stepmother for a long, long time.
Yes, for 14 years.
14 years.
Trayvon was about 3 when I met his father. And Trayvon was to our house in my home 90% of the time. I'm the one that went to them football games. I'm the one was there when he was sick. I want people to know that he wanted to live with me and his father.
What was Alicia Stanley trying to tell the world?
Lasagna time. The bread is in the oven.
After he saw George, Trayvon could have walked to his father's girlfriend's house in about 20 seconds. Instead, he spent 4 minutes on the phone with his girlfriend and circled back to lash out at George. Why would Trayvon attack someone and refuse to let up? What was going on in his life that led to this terrible decision? Trayvon Martin's phone records had to be subpoenaed because his father refused to give them to police. Then the prosecutors tried very hard to keep the records out of court. In fact, the defense spent 2/3 of their time demanding discovery. This was hard to understand because that's how Trayvon's girlfriend was discovered as an ear witness.
Her testimony that's shown on these phone logs, she completely blows Zimmerman's absurd self-defense claim out of the water. Mr. Martin, on Sunday evening, he had called the young lady.
And I had run for it. And then the man, and then he said he lost the man.
They were dating.
And then the man called, and then Trayvon said the man that was following him.
You call it puppy love or whatever you want to call it.
And Trayvon asked for Trayvon to run. And Trayvon said, they ain't gonna run like that.
She is a minor child.
He's gonna walk back on the back.
Her parents does not in any way want to reveal her identity. She is a minor.
So the phone shut off. And I had called him again and he had not answered the phone.
We have all the evidence now.
It was an incredible discovery. Within 72 hours of finding her, their detective work paid off. Big time. Barack Obama got on board.
My main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
Basketball superstar LeBron James and the NBA were in too.
Star player LeBron James writing R.I.P. Trayvon Martin on his shoe.
You know, for us to be in the position we're in, we're happy that we're able to share along the situation that's unjust.
And Chicago Congressman Bobby Rush, the former Black Panther leader, helped put the pressure on the House floor.
Racial profiling has to stop, Mr. Speaker.
The member will...
These words. He has shown you, oh God, bless Trayvon Martin's soul. He was a black man wearing a hoodie in a white neighborhood, shot in the head.
Black youth were organized and mobilized into student walkouts to protest. The phone witness had contradicted all the other evidence and ignited the public.
Here to demand that the state attorney charge this homeowners association loose cannon with murder.
And it is the search for justice for Trayvon that has brought us to this moment.
Soon enough, a special prosecutor was assigned and George Zimmerman was arrested.
Today, we filed an information charging George Zimmerman with murder in the second degree.
The prosecutor did not make a decision based on public pressure.
Let me emphasize that we do not prosecute by public pressure or by petition. I want to especially thank Mr. Crump.
The cell phone document finally arrived. It was overwhelming, 750 pages, including over 1,500 contacts, almost 3,000 text messages, and 3,000 photos. It even had GPS coordinates fixing Trayvon's locations. Although massive, I knew I would have to read it many times, and I would learn more about Trayvon than even his friends and family knew. My first challenge, though, was to learn some urban English, starting with the word Nigga. Used repeatedly, it carried no stigma and simply meant dude. I learned jit was child, boo was sweetheart, bae was babe, brew was brother, deuces meant get lost, slid meant tired, G-Shit was keeping it real, Kush was marijuana, and OG and OB were old boy and old girl, mom and dad. Then there was urban shorthand to learn, like finna, pose, cuz, good, dough, and WYA, where you at? I also learned words like dod, dis, dat, wit, what, day, and nah for now. Now I was ready to get down with my bad self. The Zimmerman and Trayvon deceptions would pale in comparison to the greatest deception of them all.
Did he have a girlfriend back then before he passed?
No.
Diamond? Sweetheart. Good morning, bae. Happy Valentine's Day, bae. Give me a kiss. Do you want to be my ride to die, nigga? Bae. Ride to die meant we are a couple. We ride together and we die together. Whatever happens to me, happens to you, because we stay together. After obsessively rereading Trayvon's text messages about 100 times, as I set out to do, I had come to know Trayvon. And, surprisingly, now I knew Diamond too, almost personally. Shit, I love my duck ass. I knew her vibe, her jive, and her attitude well enough to know that something was very wrong here. Diamond was attractive, highly sexualized, and self-confident in the extreme. Rachel Jeantel was none of this. Did Trayvon really beg to jump into a bathtub with Rachel? Yet Rachel was the girl we all saw at the trial claiming to be Diamond.
My name was a lie.
That's a name that you made up?
That's my nickname.
But your last name isn't Eugene.
That's my mother.
Trayvon's girlfriends were all short, thin, and younger than him. Rachel Jeantel was a year older and outweighed him by 100 pounds. And there was no duck ass. I checked Trayvon's contacts. There was no Rachel Jeantel. There was an entry for Diamond with her phone number used with Trayvon, but no photo. Trayvon often implored Diamond to text photos, and she always obliged. Send me a pic. You got the pic? Yeah. I then went through the 3,000 photos stored on Trayvon's phone, yet there was no picture of Rachel Jeantel, who was unmistakable. Then I recalled Trayvon often called Diamond Bae for babe. Morning, Bae. Be safe, Bae. Hey, Bae. I just got home, Bae. Sure enough, there was a contact for Bae right next to the phone number used by Diamond. However, the photo of Bae was not Rachel Jeantel. Even though Bae wore a long weave and a ton of light makeup, no sighted person could possibly confuse her with Rachel Jeantel. How could the state of Florida prosecutors not have seen this?
The young lady completely connects the dots.
I quickly downloaded Benjamin Crump's 20-minute phone call with Diamond. That interview was 3 weeks after Trayvon was killed on March 19, 2012. Then I downloaded the recording of Rachel Jeantel's deposition with prosecutor Bernie De La Rionda from exactly 2 weeks later on April 2nd. I selected similar phrases from each interview and compared them, listening over and over.
What you doing around here?
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 Trayvon, you like walk.
Trayvon, start walking.
Trayvon, you like walk.
Trayvon, start walking.
Their voices shared little. The tone, inflection, syntax, rhythm, and accents didn't match.
When you was walking out the store.
When you leaving the store.
When you was walking out the store.
When you leaving the store.
Okay, run to your house.
I told him to run to the house.
Okay, run to your house.
I told him to run to the house.
Diamond spoke fluidly and with confidence. The terminology was different too.
If his headset like stale.
Because the headphone, he might got off.
If his headset like stale.
Because the headphone, he might got off.
Even the stories were different.
It started raining hard.
It was not raining.
It started raining hard.
It was not raining.
Next, I decided to listen to Rachel Jeantel's April 2nd deposition.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Rachel Jeantel.
She is a 16-year-old teenager. How old are you now?
18.
Prosecutors had to subpoena Diamond's phone records because she refused to provide them.
Is that phone number under your name or under somebody else's name?
It should be now under my name.
Okay.
In fact, the cell phone account was Simple Mobile and was prepaid with no identifying information. It was probably transferred to Rachel that day.
Did you consider yourselves dating?
No.
Were you kind of his girlfriend or just kind of you guys? Okay, you're getting there. That day, February 26th, did Trayvon send you any text messages?
In fact, they exchanged 32 text messages that day.
Did Trayvon ever say the guy's coming at me is going to hit me?
Yeah, you could say.
You ever say the guy got out of the car?
You want that too?
By now, it was obvious that Rachel Jeantel was just making things up as she went. At the end of the interview, she actually tries to tell the prosecutor she's lying, but he doesn't get it.
I got guilt.
You got guilt? Why do you feel guilt?
Real guilty.
Huh?
Real guilty.
Why do you feel real guilty?
I ain't know about it.
Huh?
I ain't know about it.
Rachel did not know about it because she was not Diamond.
Dramatic testimony emerging late this afternoon in George Zimmerman's murder trial. Jurors getting to hear from the woman who was on the phone with Trayvon Martin just moments before he was shot and killed.
The most memorable moment of the trial was Rachel talking about a letter the real Diamond had given to Sabrina Fulton.
Are you able to read that copy well enough that you can tell us if it's in fact the same letter?
No.
Are you unable to read that at all?
I don't understand cursive. I don't read cursive.
The letter detailed everything Diamond said she heard, yet Sabrina kept the evidence secret for a year, tucked away in her Bible until just before the trial.
Had you disclosed this to the state before yesterday?
No,
Did you discuss this with your attorney, the existence of this letter?
I did not.
Did you consider this letter significant?
I consider that letter to be personal and sentimental.
In fact, there was nothing personal about it. It was only a narrative of the phone call with Trayvon, and that was it. There was no Dear Sabrina, no feelings, and it ended with simply, "Thank you, Diamond Eugene."
What did you do once you read it?
I've received several letters, so I put it in a box.
Meanwhile, Tracy Martin got very nervous when he was asked about Diamond's letter.
Was it ever read to you?
I have no knowledge of what was in the letter. Never read it, never had it read to me, never had it sent to me, never had it in my possession.
The closer I looked at the letter, the deeper and deeper I was drawn into it. I sensed it must have some great significance in the cover-up of who Diamond really was.
I did not write the letter, though.
Oh, who wrote the letter for you?
I told Francine to write it. I tell her what to write.
Rachel claimed a woman who worked for Trayvon's mother, Francine Serve, wrote the letter for her.
Did you know Francine?
Yes.
From the fact that she was helping out with your brother?
Yes.
I had identified all the callers on Diamond's phone records by doing background checks online, one by one. Soon enough, I was able to assign a name to every number. Diamond's best friend was the beautiful Felicia Cineas, who was also 16. Every day, Diamond and Felicia texted and called each other almost non-stop, from 5 a.m. until midnight. Felicia went to Michael Crop High School and knew Trayvon. Diamond's best friend Felicia's older sister was none other than Francine Serve. This was interesting. More background checks revealed that in 2016, both Francine and Felicia were convicted of identity fraud involving fraudulent use of credit cards and grand theft. These people were not shy about swapping identities.
I did say, my name is Diamond Eugene. I signature as Diamond Eugene.
I decided to look for Rachel's signature and compare it to the one on the letter. I found it on a 2015 traffic citation. It looked like Rachel could barely write. Though I'm not a handwriting expert, I didn't believe for 1 second that Rachel had signed the name Diamond Eugene. I began to wonder if any of the witnesses in this case could be trusted, including Diamond herself. Crump was leading the witness.
Let me do this here. Let me have you start over just saying that there, okay? And say it loud and slow for me, okay?
Alright.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
In this situation, this conversation, to me, it's unracial. It is unracial. It was an innocent boy. Just because he had an home.
She was just repeating back to Crump the narrative he'd said on the news.
All he had was a bag of Skittles and an iced tea. Say it loud and slow.
Even worse, whatever Crump said, Diamond simply agreed with him.
Did Trayvon sound scared?
Yeah.
Did Trayvon sound normal throughout the whole day since you had talked to him?
Yeah. Yeah, he sounded real happy.
I had to laugh. Diamond knew Trayvon was not happy that day because of Diamond. You said I'm a waste of your time. It what it is, you really hurt a nigga feelings. It whatever, you done with me? Nigga, go fuck a hoe. Crump slipped up when he told Court TV what was obvious to me. Diamond was coerced.
This interview happened, Jane, because we pushed her making a statement.
For 3 weeks, Diamond was hammered by calls and texts from Trayvon's two best friends, Mario and Stefan Bramble. The tag team pressured Diamond with three-way calls with Felicia, too. By the third week, Diamond caved in.
How did you locate witness number 8?
Mr. Martin got his phone bill, and he saw the last person that was on the phone, and it was this witness.
Only the media could fall for Crump's story of discovering Diamond.
1, 2, 3.
Out of the blue on March 18. Diamond had a lot going on in March 2012. There were regular calls to financial institutions, a little suspicious for someone too young to have a credit card and calling from an untraceable prepaid phone. There were 21 texts and 6 phone calls with Trayvon's mom, Sabrina Fulton.
Good morning, Matt. Hey, good morning, Robin. We've been following this story for a few weeks now.
There were 74 texts and 4 phone calls between Diamond and ABC News correspondent Matt Gutman, including calls late at night and early in the morning. There were also regular calls between Diamond and Rachel Gentile, and a call to Benjamin Crump on March 31st, just before Rachel's deposition. I realized I had just uncovered the most flagrant judicial fraud in modern times. I still could not identify Diamond. Maybe it wasn't accidental. There were over 100 texts missing. Why did Diamond have to be forced to come forward? Why was Rachel Gentile substituted as a fake witness? And who knew? The George Zimmerman case had started the modern era of fake news and race hoaxes. Had the truth been exposed at trial, the whole course of recent history would have been different. There would be no Black Lives Matter movement. The city of Ferguson might not have blown up. Colin Kaepernick might still be playing for the 49ers. And thousands of young African Americans might have been spared the lethal consequences of the Ferguson effect.
Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum for governor. He said it all started with Trayvon Martin.
There was the vestige of Gillum's campaign for governor, all about race. It was an historic election, an appeal to skin color. With a disarming aw-shucks smile, Gillum reminded me of none other than Gomer Pyle. That's why Andrew Gillum was trained by leftists in San Francisco. They knew the socialist message would work if the messenger is super friendly and looks like the people he is selling to. I decided to start with the diamonds again. No. She wasn't any of them. Then I thought to double-check the Eugenes. No. Yes! I found her! I found Diamond! Finally! Diamond was Brittany Eugene, a sophomore at Miramar High School. It was unmistakable. Her 2012 yearbook photo even had the same Chinese weave as the photo she sent Trayvon. I quickly did a background check on Brittany Eugene. Her full legal name was Brittany Diamond Eugene. There it was, Diamond. Diamond was her middle name. Birthday January 2nd, 1996. She was 16 years old at the time.
She is a 16-year-old teenager. She is a 16-year-old teenager.
Next, I looked online for traffic citations, hoping to find Diamond's signature. A signed document. Bingo! I brought it into Photoshop and compared it to Eugene on the letter. It was a match. Diamond Eugene had signed the letter and not Rachel.
I signature as Diamond Eugene.
Back to the photos. I had to laugh. At her deposition, Rachel was wearing a Chinese weave identical to Diamond's. But it didn't fit, and Rachel looked nothing like the sexy Diamond. How many people knew about this deception? Her Instagram page came up. 10 different looks and my looks all kill.
So, what was the big deal about Trayvon's girlfriend? How come they hid her? I mean, the guy did an extensive job at doing research to find Diamond Eugene, and he found her. But why would they bring that Gentile girl up to act like she's Diamond Eugene? That's because Diamond Eugene's testimony and what she heard when she was on the phone was a huge part of their case, except for she refused to come in and testify. Here's what gets me. The courts know now that this lawyer put up a fake witness. They changed the identity of who the person was to make it look like that was Trayvon Martin's girlfriend, Diamond Eugene. How was he still able to practice law? Anyways, Zimmerman was found innocent, thank goodness, but the fact that they'll go through such extremes just to push an agenda. If Crump is willing to do this for the Trayvon Martin case, to push a racial agenda, what do you think they're capable of doing when it comes to Trey Reed?